Good afternoon. Welcome, everybody. Glad to see you all here today. So, let's get started. So, today we're talking about 1Password version 8. So, this is GoFor Lunch for May the 2nd, 2023. Brought to you by GoFor Technology. I'm your host, Roger Harmon, and our mission, as always, is to make your technology work for you. So this is not World Password Day. That's coming up on Thursday, the 4th of May. But that was my inspiration for covering the latest version of 1Password today. Of course, I would be remiss in not recognizing that May 4th is also Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. 1Password version 8. So it's been out now for about a year, so it seems to be pretty stable. The reviews are good. But I want to talk about the company behind the product. So let's just run over to 1Password's website. Excuse me. So this is the CEO. I think it's commendable that the founders, as you see pictured here, understood that they weren't CEO material and they brought in a CEO. So now here's their executive team, their board of directors, their board of advisors, and a little history. So the company started with the two founders in 2005. In 2006, they released 1Password for the Mac. 2010, welcomed in iOS and Windows versions. 2016, they launched 1Password memberships, which is another word for subscriptions. Then in 2018, they launched their business product. And in 2019, they partnered with a venture capital firm called Excel. So they have 500 employees working in 20 different countries. They have 100,000 businesses and millions of customers. And this is as they call it in the trade, all hands meeting, a Zoom meeting with all their employees. And as you may notice here, the background is a cruise ship. So 1Password is used by major companies like Apple, IBM, and Under Armour, to name a few. So here is the customer service team on the company-sponsored cruise answering customer service requests while at sea. So they didn't leave their customers behind. So it is a substantial company. It's valued at $6.8 billion, and it is well funded with investors, including some names you may have heard of, like Ryan Reynolds, Robert Downey Jr., and Justin Timberlake. So they have products for Mac OS, iOS and iPad OS, Windows, Android, Chrome OS, and Linux, and you can also access your passwords on the web if you don't have one of your devices handy, and you can use it on unlimited devices. So what do you need to run 1Password 8? On the Mac, you need Catalina 10.15 or later. On iOS and iPad OS, you need 15.5. On Windows, you need 10, Android 9, and that pretty much sums up the system requirements. So what is new in version 8 of 1Password? Well, one of the most interesting features is universal autofill. So that allows you now to fill in password information in your apps as well as in the browser, as has been the case. And So anywhere you're asked to log in as an admin on your Mac, that will also be filled in by 1Password Universal Autofill. And you invoke that with the keyboard shortcut command \. So another new feature, somewhat similar, is called Quick Access. So Quick Access allows you to find any item you need without leaving the app that you're in. So you search for items across all of your accounts, and it remembers the items you use most frequently, so it can give you relevant suggestions. And you access that with the keyboard shortcut Command Shift Spacebar. So the user interface is very similar if you're a 1Password user, but it's been modernized a little bit. So let's go through it. So here in the left-hand section, you can see that they have highlighted favorites, so you can designate some of your information as favorites, or you can have all your items. Watchtower we'll talk about here shortly. Your vault is where you keep your 1Password information, and then you can have collections and name those. So this is a collection called Work, so you can separate collections of logins and other things for easier access. They also have tags that you can use to further identify your passwords. Then down here at the bottom, you have an archive where you can put unused passwords in case you may need to use them again. And at the very bottom on the left are recently deleted. So if you deleted something by mistake, you can recover it. So here in the center section, you see all categories is selected, and then they are organized chronologically by the last time you edited that entry. So here we have highlighted Evernote, and then on the right-hand section here, you can see all the information on a login. So it has your username, the password, which you can reveal, and you can copy with just one click. It also has one-time passwords for two-factor authentication and the website address. So that pretty much is the same. So let's talk about those categories. So we were looking at all categories, but you can look at specific categories. Of course, your main category is going to be your logins, which includes your username, your password, and website address. You can also put in secure notes. So any little thing that you want to jot down to protect, you can put it in as a secure note. Then you can put in your credit card information, which will autofill where you need it on a website when you're making a purchase on the web. You can put in your identity, which would be your name, address, phone number, and information like that. Then other categories would be a password. Now, a password differs from a login. It's when you only have the password and you don't have a username. When you add the username, it automatically converts it to a login. You can put documents in there. So you might want to put something in like your tax return or other things that you want to be able to access and keep secure. Your bank account information, which would include your routing number, your account number, and your PIN. Then your email accounts. Medical record, which would include the date, location, the provider, and the reason for a visit. Any memberships to any organizations. Outdoor licenses, which would be a hunting license. Reward or loyalty programs. Your social security number. Software license. Now this is very important, especially when you're migrating from one computer to a new computer, you have to reinstall software. You need the software license. So 1Password keeps these all safe and secure and available when you need them. Your wireless router information. So let's talk about a great feature of 1Password. Now, this is not new in version 8. It's been around for a while, but has a little bit of a different look to it. So this is what it looks like when you access it on the 1password.com. So you can see up here in the upper right, we have an overall score, which they say is fantastic. And we have 6 sections here that give you details. So the first section here is compromised websites. So 1Password will track when a website has been breached and let you know so you can change your password. And then if you reuse passwords, it will remind you to have unique passwords everywhere. If you have weak passwords, it will remind you to get those into stronger passwords, which of course it will suggest for you. If you have websites that are not using the HTTPS for security, it will let you know, and maybe you don't want to go to that website. And then it'll also let you know where there's websites that have two-factor authentication that you're not using. And the 6th thing is it lets you know when things like your credit cards are about to expire or have expired. So Watchtower is a great feature for keeping everything safe. So 1Password does support Touch ID. So to unlock your 1Password, you can use Touch ID on the keyboard of your Mac. And so if you're buying a new Mac, like an iMac 24-inch, make sure and get the 2nd tier, not the entry level, because that keyboard does not have Touch ID. You get the next level up, which does have Touch ID. You can also buy a keyboard separately that does have Touch ID. So if you'd like to have that feature with your existing Mac, like a Mac Mini or an older iMac, that is available from Apple. So your Apple Watch works in conjunction with 1Password as well. It works in 2 different ways. First of all, you can unlock your 1Password with your Apple Watch. And secondly, you can actually store passwords and notes, things, on your watch. You wouldn't store everything there, but things that you might need when you're out and about can be safely put on your watch. So two-factor authentication, or 2FA, this is a very important feature to protect yourself from hackers. So you can store your two-factor authentication in 1Password and quickly access your one-time passwords when you have turned on the 2-step verification on a website. You can also use a security key for a second factor, and this is an example of a security key. This is a UBA key, UBI. It has a lightning connector on one end and a USB-C connector on the other end, so it's a hardware device that will protect your two-factor authentication logins. So 1Password has a 14-day free trial, so you can try before you buy. And if you decide to buy it, it costs $2.99 a month for an individual when paid annually. They also have a family plan for $4.99 a month on an annual purchase, and that covers 5 family members. They also have plans for businesses and enterprise. So I like their mission statement. 1Password safeguards people's most important data for no matter where they use it, by making it easier for people and companies to stay safe online. We unlock peace of mind. Now everyone can work, play, and stay productive without worrying about their security or their privacy. So there's, more to 1Password, and I would be happy to answer any other questions outside of today, and help you set it up if you would like that. So if you haven't already, please type your questions in the comments. And if you would be so kind, forward the GoFor Gazette, which comes out every Monday morning, to your email, to other people you know that use Apple devices. And please give this a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube and click that little bell so you'll be notified when we go live. So, I see Susan has a question. What does the number in the upper right of the watchtower represent? Okay, Susan, good question. That's an overall score of all those 6 categories that we went through. So it gives you a snapshot of how well you're doing. And then the details are in those 6 categories underneath. And Leslie Ann just bought it. There you go. And Susan asks, is there a separate Touch ID device that you can use with your existing keyboard? Unfortunately, at this time, no. Apple does not have a separate Touch ID device right now. So that's something a lot of people would like to see happen. Okay, another good question here, Susan. Hi, Carolyn. How long can you go using 1Password 7? As far as I know, they haven't announced any end of life for 1Password 7. So as long as you keep paying the subscription, you should be able to keep using it. And Bob says if you have a M1 Mac, you can purchase the Touch ID keyboard, but I don't believe there is a standalone device, right? So that seems to be the answer. So it may not work on Intel Macs. You would have to have Apple Silicon, so a M1 or an M2 Mac. So there are other password managers out there. There is one called LastPass, which is kind of in disgrace now because they've had several breaches. There's one called Bitwarden, which is less expensive. And of course, you have the built-in password manager on your Apple systems, the Apple Keychain and iCloud Keychain, which does sync across all your devices. And of course, 1Password does also sync across all your devices. So there are some other alternatives out there. They don't have the same rich list of features that 1Password has, but there are some alternatives, and I'd be happy to explore those with you as well. So, thanks again for joining us today. If you think of anything after we end this broadcast, my phone number and email will be coming up shortly. So, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you here next week, same time, same YouTube channel.